Herb is back! I was so excited for this tour because, in my opinion, Herb is the best Primus drummer, and I would never want to see Primus live unless it was Herb behind that drum kit. And this is the first big tour Primus is going on that Herb is the drummer since, I don't know, 1995 or 1996. So, I was really psyched to see this tour, and I started getting into Primus probably, I don't know, 4 years ago. And because I was just learning bass at the time, and since I was playing guitar before, and it was very easy for me to switch over to bass because a lot of the fingerings are the same, and I got into finger picking very quickly. And my guitar teacher said, you should look up Primus, because their bass player is crazy. And sure enough, Les Claypool has a really unique playing style. I've tried copying it in some of my original compositions, but failed miserably because his style is very difficult to copy, and I know some Primus songs on bass, but I haven't posted any Primus covers just because the way I play those bass parts is very different from the way Les plays it. The only stuff from him I can really play is his Geddy Lee influenced finger style stuff, because I'm also a pretty big Rush fan, and I'm actually going to see Rush perform live pretty soon. But anyways, I'm just rambling at this point. Primus and the Chocolate Factory, the tour, the very first concert with Herb, on a big tour at least, in 15, 16, 17-ish years. It was so awesome when they came out on stage, and Herb, to see her behind that drum kit, that signature bald head behind the drum kit, and I was just so happy to see him there because, I love Herb. His polyrhythmic style adds a very unique flavor to the stuff he plays on. But I was kind of hoping to see Les Claypool uses Carl Thompson basses on stage, just because they're so iconic to me, and because you see them in all their music videos and in all the live footage pre-2011. But no, he used his new bass, which kind of looks like a cross between a Fender jazz bass and a Carl Thompson bass, and an alembic bass, that bass that John Entwistle used. Don't get me wrong, it looks cool and it sounds awesome. Tonally, it's very similar, and it sounds great live, and the effects he uses are really cool too. But anyways, they opened with, on this particular night, because Primus changes their set list every single night. So on this particular night, they opened with To Defy the Laws of Tradition, which was really awesome. Les's voice has kind of deepened over the years, but other than that, it sounded really great. And about 4 minutes into the song, they stopped, and he was like, Philadelphia, because, it was in Tower Theater, Philadelphia. Yeah, that very first date you see there, that was the show I went to. And then he said, look, it's Herb, he's alive, and everyone went crazy, and I went especially crazy because I love Herb. And then they did the last 2 minutes of that song and they ended. And by the way, I should probably say something about the crowd, just the audience that went to see this show. They were the most energetic, most ecstatic crowd I've ever seen at any show ever, because, oh man, just they knew the words to all the songs they played. Like, even though Primus changes their set list every night, they knew the words to all the songs. And also, you know how at most shows the mosh pit is only like, I don't know, the size of this room, and it's only like maybe 10 people moshing? Well, the whole standing area for Primus was a whole sea of a gigantic mosh pit. And it was just all the way over here to all the way over there, just like everyone's moshing, and it was an experience. I tell you what. And if you're wondering how close I got, I was actually pretty darn close. I was, even though it was standing room, I was probably the equivalent of the third row, but toward the end of the show I managed to make my way up to the front row. So that was pretty cool. The perks of getting early, friends. Well, anyways, during their second song, Last Salmon Man, they did a jam, and that was pretty cool. Shoot. Oh, yeah. The next song, I actually didn't know this at the time, but according to the set list, that song was apparently a medley of Last Salmon Man and Groundhog's Day. And I don't know, they just kind of blended into each other so seamlessly that I honestly didn't even notice, because I thought Southbound Pachyderm was the third song, but according to the set list, it's the fourth song. But I digress. But Southbound Pachyderm is one of my favorite Primus songs. It's one of their darker songs, but just the bass line to that song isn't that hard, and I was actually fingering along the whole way. And the drumming on this song is superb. Just, you know that drum fill 1 minute into the song where it's like ding. I craved to see that fill done live by Herb himself, and he did it, and it was awesome. And then, of course, the next, 3 minutes of the song are verbatim as on the album. And then they went into this long, 5-minute jam. Since the song's in A minor, the jam was in A minor too. And it was, really well done. Great guitar solo by Lur. Great bass soloing by Les. And Herb even did a pretty sweet drum solo. Well, solo as in, he still kept the groove of the song going, but he still added all these extra flares on top of all the notes he was playing, which only Herb, right? And at one point, Les made a joke about Lur, because if you look up footage of the shows they were doing on this tour, Lur had this long hair and a beard, and Les made this really funny joke about how, back in the good old days, Lur always looked like a little girl, but now he looks like he's from Duck Dynasty. I forget exactly who on Duck Dynasty he was referring to, but, I mean, Lur had a fairly impressive beard. Don't get me wrong. But anyways, the next song was Over the Falls, and that's when he brought out his, I don't know how to say it, his Bayou bass, that metal steel bass. And you'd think people wouldn't mosh to a slow song like that, but no, they mosh to it. I mean, just go, the search bar is up there, look for Primus Over the Falls. It's a slow tempo song with the bass line, I'm in a rocking chair right now, so I could just imagine playing that rocking back and forth. But no, people were moshing to it. I mean, how do you mosh to Over the Falls? Only Primus fans, right? But then I knew, because he had that bass out, Lee Van Cleef was going to be next. And what do you know, Lee Van Cleef was next. and it was awesome. It's one of my favorite Primus songs. And then he brought out, my wish was partially fulfilled that he would bring out his Carl Thompson bass. He did two of their early songs from like the early 90s. Jerry Was a Race Car Driver and My Name is Mud, like where he brought out that 6-string fretless rainbow bass. Like if you guys are Primus fans, you know what I'm talking about. And the crowd went even more crazy during those two songs, because My Name is Mud and Jerry Was a Race Car Driver are just the two Primus songs you mosh to. And I tried taking a video of it, but it just came out like, and it was just totally unusable footage. But the songs sounded, again, with the exception of Les's voice, sounded just like they do on the album. And they were just really well done. So there was like a 20-minute intermission, if that long, during which time I just kind of, I don't know, squatted, because like I was in the standing area, so you can't really sit down there. I just kind of squatted, because if I stand for too long, I don't know, I start feeling lightheaded, just because, I don't know, I'm a tall person, so gravity's fighting against all that blood getting to my brain. Oh, and also, being the only sober person in a sea of drunk and high people is quite an experience. 2, I don't know for sure, because I've never smoked weed before, even though I look like I do. I swear I got a contact high during the second set, because during the second set, when they did all the Oompa Loompa, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory stuff, time just kind of slowed down, and my perception of things was greater, and I had a enhanced sense of clarity. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but like, you notice stuff you wouldn't have noticed when you were sober. Like, again, I've never intentionally gotten high before, but I swear I did, like, feel something, just because it was an indoor concert and a lot of people were smoking weed, because, like, regardless of the venue's policy, you can't enforce that. There's going to be people doing it, and you can't stop it, so you might as well just let it happen. I don't know, something happened with me, and it actually made the experience of the second set that much greater. And by the way, if you've listened to the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory Primus album, Primus and the Chocolate Factory, I'm sorry, it does not compare to the live experience. The live experience is, you need to see it live to get the full effect, because they went all out for the live show. Les dressed up like Willy Wonka. Lur had this, it was like a bow tie, button-down shirt, and a vest, and Herb was dressed up like an Oompa Loompa, one of the white Oompa Loompas, you know, from the TV room in the big white suit. And, like, it was such a trip. It was such a treat to see that live. And they did the whole album. Let's just see. Yeah, they did the whole album. And it was really cool, and it sort of just left me speechless before they went on for the encore, like, because the Primus's style of the way they did this set, it was just hypnotizing, I want to say, because you're just staring there, and again, my mouth just kind of gaped open most of the time. and you're just kind of left dumbfounded by the experience. And don't get me wrong, it was awesome, but it's just, it was just like, oh man, it just leaves you speechless. But anyways, they did their encore, and they incorporated the Fungi Ensemble, another project Les has done that they did with the Chocolate Factory stuff, which, like, I don't think they've ever done anything with Primus before, so it was pretty cool to see them live doing that kind of stuff with them. They did, for the encore, Too Many Puppies, which I'm not a big fan of that song. Fisticuffs, not a big fan of that song either. Here Come the Bastards. I feel like I should be a big fan of that song, but weirdly I'm not. I feel like I should be. But after playing Here Come the Bastards, that's when they ended the show and the curtain went down. And I thought, oh, they're going to have I stayed in the same spot in the front for like 20 minutes after the show because I'm like, they're going to play Tommy the Cat. They're going to play Tommy the Cat. They got to play Tommy the Cat. Tommy the Cat's like their biggest song. They can't not play it. And you know what they did? They didn't play it. I'm like, Primus, what is wrong with you? You've got to play Tommy the Cat. It's just, like half the admission price of that ticket was so I could see Tommy the Cat. Just, it was, I really wanted them to play Tommy the Cat. But aside from that, minor side note, even though objectively it wasn't the biggest budget concert I've ever seen, it might not have been even the best concert I've ever seen. But it was definitely the most fun I've ever had at a concert thus far in my life. And for that, Primus, I thank you. And I thank your awesome fans who contributed the energy to helping make that concert experience so awesome. And you guys, Primus, are awesome performing live, and you should continue to do so until the day you all are dead. So, and oh yeah, one little concert tip. Always bring and drink plenty of water, because to secure my spot way in the front, I did not leave at all, and it was really hot in there, and I got mega dehydrated, and when I get dehydrated, I get massive migraines, so by the time I got back to my place, I just wound up throwing up everywhere. So, enjoy your concerts, stay hydrated.